Today's report shows, though, some progress. Overall, inflation was 2% over the last 3 months. That's down from 11% over the prior 3 months. That's progress.
So President Biden says there's progress in fighting inflation, but key economic figures still show numbers are at a 4-decade high. Now, with gas price hikes on the way and recession fears on the horizon, people will need to prepare. Joining me now is Mitch Roschelle. He's an economist and founding partner of Macro Trends Advisors. Mitch, good morning. So President Biden trying to claim a small victory with these numbers, but is there one?
Yeah, I don't think the electorate is buying it either, quite honestly. Inflation is a tough thing to get your arms around if you're an expert or if you're just going to the grocery store. And the reality is the way it's looked at by economists is they take the inflation number, the headline number, then they strip out the more volatile pieces, which are food and energy. And then they look at the core inflation, the thing that we all feel the most. The core inflation rose to a 40-year high. So I think what the simple reality about inflation is, it's not transitory as it had been discussed. It's quite the opposite. It's very sticky, and it's a bit of a beast to deal with if you're a policymaker or if you're the Fed.
All right, so you mentioned it there, and we keep hearing about overall versus core inflation. So what's the difference, and why does it matter?
The reason why it matters is it's really an effort to look at the basics versus the things that tend to drive up the number. So the most volatile pieces, if you just look at inflation data over time, tend to be food and energy. And what they try to do is strip those out. The biggest item that's in core inflation that can really drive the number higher is something that economists refer to as shelter costs, but really think about those three things, right? Food, shelter, clothing, those are the basic essentials. And what's been happening is home prices have been going up and up and up, and maybe higher mortgage rates may reverse that. But by the same token, for the big chunk of America that rents have been going up because there is a housing supply. So, the way it's looked at is, what are the things that tend to make the number high that are maybe anomalies versus what are the things that really impact the consumer the most?
Okay, so the decision, Mitch, by OPEC Plus to cut oil production, that will increase gas prices. So how will this impact inflation?
What's interesting, Kelly, and you ask a great question, is this report, the September inflation report, does not include the recent uptick in energy prices. So if you add that to the mix come the October inflation report, which is important to know that will happen after the midterm elections, I think you're going to see inflation continue to persist. And what the Fed's trying to do is get demand to slow down, because what causes inflation? Too much demand and not enough supply.
All right, makes sense. Mitch Roschelle, economist and founding partner at Macro Trends Advisors. Thank you for your time this morning.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Well, Wall Street may be weathering the inflation news, but many on Main Street are suffering. From the kitchen table to the gas station, everyday items are taking a bigger bite out of wallets across the country. So joining us now is Boston University professor Laurence Kotlikoff. He is the president of Economic Security Planning. Professor, good morning. Inflation.
Nice to meet you.
Great to have you. Is rated among the top issues on the minds of Americans. So what should people expect, especially as we head into the holidays?
Well, they're going to have to try and cut corners. It looks like inflation is really persisting. I think it's into the mindsets. We have 32.6 million businesses that are setting the prices. We think it's in the control of the Federal Reserve Chairman, Jerome Powell, but 32.6 million businesses, most of them have never heard of his name. So we need to do some jawboning to get these people on the same page. To say let's go for 4% inflation, not 5 or 6 or let alone 8% in terms of price increases, going forward, so that you're not out of line with everybody else. I think we need to have some jawboning at this point. I think trying to kill the economy by hiking Federal Reserve rates to the point where we have a deep recession is really, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We want to figure out how to live with inflation. That's think about Social Security recipients. They just got a benefit increase, a COLA increase to adjust for last year's inflation, but they're always behind the eight ball. So we need to have monthly COLAs, not annual COLAs, to keep them whole. That's one thing the government can do, like tomorrow or today. We should be indexing the tax system so it's fully inflation proof. We should make sure that Social Security recipients are not getting hit with higher and higher taxes on their benefits because the thresholds beyond which your benefits are taxable are not indexed to inflation, are not adjusted. So there's lots of things that the government can do to make life better. You know, people on fixed incomes, pensions, Detroit policemen, for example, the federal government Congress should be looking at trying to help local government, state, local government, trying to, give them some extra funds to provide cost of living increases for these critical workers who spent their entire lives putting their lives at stake and now are losing, over the course of the year, about 10% of their lifetime income is just going out the window. So we need to get our country and our economy be inflation proof, but killing the economy is just going to make things worse.
So I wanted to get this question, and I think it's the $1 million question in a lot of ways, but it's a tough one. Is there any indication regarding how long we can expect to see these higher prices stick around?
Well, there are indications that things, the mortgage market, the mortgage rates are so high that that's going to cool off the housing market. That's going to impact construction. It may impact rents. There's been a lot of rental properties being built. So, and there's also supply side bottlenecks have gone away to a large extent. The price of oil, even though it's ticked up a bit of late, is lower than it was when Putin started the war, a bit lower. Grain prices are lower so the supply side has kicked in. What I'm worried about is that psychologically, the big increase, one of the bigger commodities that went up or services that went up was automobile repairs. Its price went up like 2% over the month. How do you get these people that are setting the prices for repair jobs to realize that we need to have them set increases on a 4% annual basis, not like a 20% annual basis? That requires the president, the Treasury Secretary, and the Fed chairman all to get together and publicly say, let's get on the same page. We need to coordinate behavior. This may seem a little different from what was just said about supply and demand. That's there, but if I'm a small business, I'm going to set my price hike maybe once every couple of years because I don't want to irritate my customers. So now I'm kind of guessing what the future is going to be. We need to get everybody's expectations coordinated.
And that makes sense. There's so much to consider when you're considering how long this is going to last. Laurence Kotlikoff, economy professor at Boston University. Thank you for joining us. You're also a best-selling author. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Kelly. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.